As more and more baby boomers retire, a lot of them are facing a key question. A lot of boomers have stashed away enough cash to comfortably support them throughout their golden years. Many have invested in 401k plans. Others have very robust IRA packages. Unfortunately, there's a huge chunk of senior citizens who have underfunded pensions. A lot of them are simply relying on Social Security. Others may have private pensions that don't really pay all that well. Not surprisingly, a significant percentage of baby boomers who are now retiring only choose to semi-retire. They still work upwards of 20 hours every single week to essentially supplement whatever pension funds they're getting from the government or from private sources. On the other hand, there are a lot of senior citizens who simply have a lot of time on their hands. They don't need money because they're well taken care of by their retirement plans. That's not the issue with them. The issue is, what do they do with their time? Regardless of which group you belong to, if you're a senior citizen, you should definitely look into working from home using the internet. There are many work-from-home jobs available out there, and the key is to use these opportunities to maximize your personal potential. You may not need the money, but you can definitely use the engagement. Why wouldn't you want to work on something that engages your sense of curiosity, adventure, and possibility? Wouldn't it be awesome to work on something that produces money while at the same time pushes you to be as creative and as imaginative as before? If you answered yes to any of the questions above, earning an online income may be the answer you're looking for. Translator. Senior citizens who know a second language or who are good in multiple languages can easily hire themselves out as online translators. There are lots of online translator programs available to senior citizens. Given the random nature of human languages, a simple mechanical one-to-one translation service like Google Translate is simply not going to cut it. There will be a lot of nuances left out. In fact, in many cases, a simply mechanical translation leaves out context, and this might produce the wrong effect. As you probably already know, context is everything. How to make even more money with translation. If you, for example, were a doctor or a nurse, you can translate medical documents, and these can pay more. Similarly, if you were a lawyer before in your old career, you can translate legal documents, and this can fetch quite a bit of money. Why should you work from home? I know this seems like a very basic question, but we can't assume that we already know the answer. It's much better not to assume anything so as to not overlook anything. This is a very important basic question. Why should you work from home? What kind of benefits would you get working remotely? Convenience. When you're working from home, you don't have to put on your work clothes. You don't have to get from point A to point B. You don't have to hassle about traffic. You don't have to budget for lunch. You don't have to deal with office politics. You're just dealing with work in an environment you can control. After all, you're working from the comfort of your home. Also, you save a tremendous amount of money in commutes, in lunches, and all sorts of daily hassles that the daily grind brings to the table. You exercise your brain. There is such a thing as senior citizen brain drain. If you're a baby boomer and you've been working with your brain all these years, when you retire, suddenly, all that brain activity goes off a cliff. Maybe you were upper management in your career. People would come to you for all sorts of hard decisions. Maybe you would process a lot of data. Maybe you were a doctor or a lawyer during your previous career. These involved a lot of reading, analysis, and hard decisions. Well, when you retire, it's very easy for your brain to turn into mush because you just find yourself reading magazines, watching YouTube videos, and essentially giving your brain a pass. Well, when you're doing work for others from the comfort and safety of your home, you get to exercise your brain. Maybe it's not at the same intellectual intensity as before, but you're at least giving your brain something to do. You put yourself in a situation where you can remain intellectually productive and mentally sharp. The best part to all this is that your brain improves or at least maintains its functions when you learn something new. So, if you're going to work from home and you've branched into a new area that is outside your core competencies, you can bet that you are definitely giving your brain a much-needed workout. Don't disregard the money. Depending on how well your retirement has been set up, money may not even be a consideration for you. On the other hand, if you haven't saved much for retirement, money is a big deal. Regardless of how big of a factor money is to you, please understand that working from home can be lucrative. The techniques that I'm going to teach you in this training are going to step you through many different ways of making money on the internet, as well as through hybrid solutions that make online and offline platforms. The bottom line is, depending on how hard you work, depending on the kind of system that you build, and depending on how you invest your time and how your reputation shapes up, you can earn quite a bit of money. In fact, a lot of retirees easily make six figures just working from home. Now, that may not be a big deal to you because if you were particularly successful in your career, six figures is small potatoes. But in many cases, senior citizens working from home who pulled out that much money actually put in very little time. Also factor in the amount of time, focus, and planning that went into producing income. You get flexibility. The great thing about working from home is you get flexibility. Personally, I love this. I have a small boy, and it's really a pleasure seeing him grow up. The great thing about becoming a parent is you get to relive your childhood through the eyes of your child. Whatever issues you may have had with your parents or whatever misgivings you may have had about your own childhood, you have a chance to fix that with the life of your child. It's no surprise that parents love to say that they give their kids the opportunities that they themselves did not have. This doesn't just involve money or the ability to buy certain things. This also involves emotional and intellectual nurturing, sustenance, and cultivation. Also, you get to enjoy a very nice work-life balance when you're working from home. This flexibility enables you to enjoy more of what life has to offer. Working from home gives you a sense of meaning. At the end of the day, what really makes life worth living is not the amount of money we have in the bank. It's not the amount of respect we get from others or the social status we manage to achieve. It goes beyond that. A life worth living really boils down to whether you think that there is a purpose to you living. What's the point of having a lot to live for when you have nothing to live from? It's all about purpose or a sense of meaning. When you work on your own terms, from home, you get that sense of purpose. You get rewarded for being curious. You get rewarded for breaking things up and putting them back together again and piecing the things together and connecting the dots. You ultimately get paid to learn, and it's really nothing short of beautiful when I see senior citizens that I coach professionally for online income generation regain that spark of meaning and purpose. Please understand that during your old career, it's very easy to define yourself based on your job or your title. But when you work from home, you define yourself based on the possibilities of the things you can do, and every time you produce something, you achieve a new level and you explore territory. That's a beautiful thing, because you're celebrating your growth as a human being on so many different levels. Keep the benefits above in mind if you're still on the fence about working from home. Please understand that senior citizens working from home don't just benefit financially from doing so. They stand to gain so much more. Get an online job as a virtual assistant. In the United States and elsewhere, there are huge numbers of companies that are discovering the power of a distributed workforce. Now, a lot of these companies are startups that have a purely online business. Maybe they have online stores, or they offer some sort of software service available through the web. However, interestingly enough, an increasing number of offline businesses are also turning to the internet for specialized virtual assistant services to help them find new customers, take care of digital paperwork, or do some logistical work like managing appointments, researching clients, and similar tasks. Accordingly, there is a strong demand for virtual assistants. Senior citizens can take advantage of this growing demand. This is especially true of individuals who have worked at an office before. Maybe you were an administrator, or maybe you assisted executives, or you just know your way around an office environment. The tasks involved. Virtual assistants usually just handle administrative tasks. This includes answering emails, scheduling appointments, going to travel websites and buying tickets for executives, as well as setting up all sorts of travel arrangements. Essential requirements. In terms of character traits, you need to be able to work under pressure. The pressure normally comes in the form of a deadline. You also have to have solid critical thinking skills, and you have to be a self-starter. This means you don't require somebody to look over your shoulder. Your boss doesn't have to shake your cage so you can get motivated to work. At the very least, you must be able to deliver what's expected of you at the expected time. Finally, you have to have solid English communication skills. This can't be emphasized enough. You have to write and document what you did for your employer. Now, a lot of times, this is taken care of by project management software. You're given a series of assignments and you just plug in what you did and at what time and you are done. Well, it all depends on the setup. Some virtual assistant arrangements are more informal than others, while others require specialized tracking software. In fact, some virtual assistant jobs have a status check software installed on your computer. This enables your employer, with your full legal permission, to check your screen at any given time within the block of time you agreed to work. This will let them know if you're playing online poker or messing around online or actually doing the work they pay you for. Different arrangements. What I would suggest is you try to get a virtual assistant project that pays based on outcome instead of time. The problem with working on a time-based basis is that it feels like you're working at an office. Sure, you're working from the comfort and convenience of your home, but your time is severely restricted. This is made worse when your boss can check your status by checking your screen. By shifting to an outcome-based arrangement, your boss will pay you for results. The results are pretty straightforward in a typical virtual assistant arrangement. Either you set up the appointment, either you looked up the clients and made contact, or you didn't. Either you booked tickets or not. These either-or situations can easily be documented. This way, you don't have to constantly watch over your shoulder and have to worry about some sort of virtual surveillance by your employer. You only need to send them the right reports at the right time. They can verify them, they can double-check them, and once everything checks out, you can then move on to the next task. Of course, this is not always possible, so make sure you look at the project details before signing up for a virtual assistant job. These details do vary from employer to employer. Customer service representative or technical support. While a large chunk of CSR work moved overseas, there is still a space for senior citizens in the United States to become CSR or call center workers. The key here is specialization. The great thing about inbound sales that requires specialized knowledge is that people are calling in regarding a particular product or concern, and you can easily scale up the interaction so they end up buying something more valuable than what they originally thought. In many cases, they end up buying something when they just called in to ask a question. Types of tasks. Different call center jobs have different configurations. The best paying ones involve some sort of sales. Now, please understand that this doesn't mean that you have to become some sort of used car salesman with all the necessary cheesiness and obnoxious behavior. It doesn't have to be like that. In many cases, within an environment of simply responding to people's needs, you can upsell them to higher value products or service packages. Here are the most common skills required in a customer service environment: resolving issues, answering questions, analyzing the caller's concern and directing that person to the right resource, doing analysis and listening to the customer at the same time, documenting the interaction, listening to the customer and analyzing their actual needs, meeting quality standards, solving problems, knowing product issues, knowing marker concerns, basic phone skills. The key to making money as a specialized call center agent. If you are based in the United States and you're a senior citizen looking to make money as a call center agent, the key is to know your stuff backwards and forwards. When somebody calls and they realize that you really know your stuff and you can help them solve their problems, it's very easy to upsell them. Since you get paid based on commission, you can possibly earn lots of extra cash being a specialized upsell call center agent. How? People call in for customer support, you solve their issues, then try to sell on a related service package. General freelancer. This is a general heading for senior citizens looking to do work on the internet. There are many different types of freelance jobs you can take, but there are general similarities. When you work as a freelancer, you work based solely on your own time. What kind of jobs can you do on a freelance basis? Generally speaking, the most common freelance work available online involves writing. Please understand that there are many different types of materials people hire writers for. Here's a short list of freelance writer work currently available: academic writing, screenplay, grant proposals, technical specifications, technical manual writing, legal contracts, demand letter or formal legal pleadings, online content, books, novels, personal biographies or memoirs, online guides, business plans, business proposals, service proposals. The list above is just a short list. Let's put it this way: as long as something needs to be written in English, it can be outsourced to you. Requirements. There are no formal education requirements to be an online writer. In fact, I know people who only have a high school diploma, and some barely have that diploma, who are pulling in 5 figures. The great thing about online writing is it all boils down to the quality of your output. That's all the customer cares about. Other variations. There are many other variations of freelance writing work. You don't necessarily have to write the materials yourself. You can be any of the following: editor, transcriber, proofreader, transcriptionist, ad writer, copywriter, copy reader, project brief writer. As you can tell from the other subsidiary projects above, the writing portion is just a small fraction of the overall project. There are so many variations to writing work, and believe me, the internet will never run out of demand for writers. How come? It all boils down to basic English communication. Companies know that they need to present their ideas in a professional way. They know that they need to be understood effectively and efficiently. This, of course, requires people to communicate effectively. Requirements. You should also invest in Whitesmoke or Grammarly. These are online grammar checkers that will help you clean up your output. I don't care how polished of a writer you think you are. Everybody's got rough edges. Become a blogger. Everybody's got opinions. Everybody's got ideas. The good news is there is a universal market consisting of potentially billions of people. The internet is really a large audience. You may think that you have all these wild and wacky opinions that nobody really takes seriously. That may be true, but it may be the other way. It may well turn out that your opinions, as weird and as awkward you may think they are, might actually appeal to a large number of people. When you publish these materials, you may be in for a pleasant surprise. There may be a lot of people reading your stuff, sharing your stuff on social media, and essentially developing a community around your content. If all this sounds far-fetched to you, don't be so skeptical. This happens all the time. In fact, a lot of online publishers started out this way. They would just share their opinions, or they would share research that they've compiled and put into their own words in their own personal blog. They thought that nothing was going to come of their blog, which was purely a hobby. Well, thanks to social media as well as search engines, these people are making full-time income from their blogs. In fact, a lot of these publishers end up selling their properties for quite a bit of money. $100,000 to $1 million is not unheard of. Excited yet? Follow the tips below to set up your own blog. Pick the right niche. If there's any one piece of advice I can give anybody looking into blogging, it is this: your niche will make or break your blog. Pick the wrong niche and your blog will die. According to the New York Times, over 90% of blogs ever started end up dying. That's how high the blogging failure rate is. A lot of this can be traced to the wrong niche. You have to pick a niche that is rewarding enough for you to remain motivated and pumped up about blogging. If you are blogging for 1 month and you're just cracking out content like there's no tomorrow, if you don't make any money and there's no engagement or any kind of objective indication of success, sooner or later you're going to run out of steam. After all, you can only run on passion for so long. To create a self-sustaining business where you can get the motivation you need to just produce high-quality content and produce these materials over an extended period of time so as to maximize their income potential, you have to pick the right niche. The right niche can be boiled down into the formula below. The right niche equals the topic you're passionate about plus high enough search volume levels. You can get this through Google Keyword Planner tool. Plus high enough commercial value, you can get this with the Google Keyword Planner tool. And manageable levels of competition. You can find this through a simple Google search for your target keywords. Just wrap your mind around the formula above and you will be able to blog successfully. Starting a blog. Starting a blog is actually the easy part. The hard part is picking the right niche. I'm providing you the steps below under the assumption that you already know how to pick the right niche or you have already chosen one. Step 1. Get a hosting domain name and install WordPress. I suggest that you get hosting that allows for a one-click WordPress installation. A lot of people say that you should use free tools like Blogger.com, WordPress.com, or Medium.com. Don't listen to those people. Remember, your blog can make money, but the real payday is when you sell your blog. As I mentioned above, many bloggers sell their blog business for hundreds of thousands of dollars or even north of $1 million. That's how lucrative blogging can be. If you don't believe me, look up the sales of big credit card or personal finance blogs. Those deals can be mind-blowing. Since selling your blog is a future possibility, it doesn't make any sense for you to use a platform like Medium.com or Blogger.com. You don't own the platform, and ultimately you don't own that property. Host your own blogs using your own hosting subscription on your own domain name and run your blog through WordPress. Step number 2, pick the right name. Pick a blog name that really encapsulates the value your blog brings to the table. Step number 3, customize your blog. Make sure that your blog reflects your brand. Step number 4, create winning content. By winning content, I'm talking about content that is recommended by tools like BuzzSumo. When you use these tools, they find the most popular pieces of content in your niche. You end up creating content that people are already interested in. This increases the chance of your blog becoming successful. Step number 5, promote your website. Go on social media and share your blog posts. Share on question and answer platforms like Quora.com. Get on Reddit and discuss your website and share your resources. Make it a point to devote several hours every month to this until you get a steady flow of traffic. Eventually, you can stop promoting because your blog would have gathered enough attraction so that its own readers would be sharing your blog content. Step number 6, monetize. This shouldn't be number 1 on your agenda, but it should still be part of the picture. Once you get enough traffic, look to turning that traffic into money. You can put ads that pay you pay per click, or you can sell your own products, or you can put ads that pay for every single email captured. Whatever the case may be, you eventually start making money, but you should focus first on making your blog popular. Business consulting. If you were instrumental in growing a company in whatever capacity, you can choose to become a business consultant. Business consultants earn quite a bit of money because people are looking for their experience. You can give out advice. You can start up through crucial stages of its development. You can offer coaching services. There are so many ways you can offer your business consultant services. It all boils down to how much knowledge you have. Freelance versus publishers. The big factor to consider if you're thinking of becoming an online business consultant really boils down to delivery. Usually when people think of consulting, they think of somebody who physically shows up, talks to certain people, and then comes up with some sort of report. The company is supposed to read through this report and change their business practices based on the recommendations. Online business consulting is slightly different. Basically, you send out questionnaires and you then come up with a final report which you email to your client. But that's just one way of doing things. That is the one-to-one type of consulting. Basically, you deal with a specific business based on its merits, and then you send out the specific consultation report. There's another way you can make money as a business consultant. You can basically have people fill out the same questionnaire, but depending on their answers, you can send out canned or pre-written recommendations. The great thing about this is you work once, but you make money many times over. How come? You wrote the recommendations once. The only work that you're doing is to read the questionnaire and see which type of report to send to which client. The drawbacks of one-to-one consultation. It's very easy to think that the best way to become a business consultant is for people to get in touch with you via Skype and you just talk to them. The better approach would be to just come up with a canned or pre-recorded or pre-written product that governs many different common issues. You then send it out and then the customer can customize their implementation of your advice. You can then set up a one-to-one consultation for something more specific. This enables you to make more money and it also helps you qualify your customer base. Bookkeeper or tax accountant. If you have a specialized knowledge regarding accounting or you were a CPA or a bookkeeper before, you can work from home offering this type of service. Basically, people need bookkeepers, and unfortunately, nearby bookkeepers cost a lot of money. Also, this type of service can easily be done online. You just send out digital packages. As long as you have the skills to do this, you can provide it through the internet. 2 models. There are 2 service provision models for people looking to become online bookkeepers or tax accountants. Use an agency or provide it directly yourself. Going through an agency. The great thing about becoming part of an online bookkeeping or accounting agency is that you don't have to worry about where your next project's going to come from. They do promotions and they basically will market themselves, so they get a steady stream of clients for you. The downside to working with an agency is that a significant chunk of your income will go to the agency. Going your own way. The great thing about offering your own tax accounting and bookkeeping service directly to the general public is the fact that you don't have to split your fee with anybody. The downside to this is that you have to know online marketing well for you to earn using this technique. Otherwise, it's going to be tough for you to earn money as a tax accountant or bookkeeper. You have to have the right marketing skills to make this happen. See the marketing section later in this training. Online tutor or teacher. There are many disciplines requiring tutorial assistance. Generally speaking, these boil down to science, math, and English. If you are good with written English or spoken English, you can become an online tutor. 2 types of tutoring platforms. If you're looking to tutor people through the internet, please understand that there's really only 2 platforms for this. You have to choose wisely, otherwise you might not make much money as an online tutor. Type number 1, go through an online agency. The great thing about signing up for an online tutoring agency is that they will find clients for you. You don't have to worry about finding a student. Your main worry is to get accepted into an online tutoring platform. Type number 2, go your own way. The alternative to using an agency is to go your own way. In other words, you put up your own website and you market your online teaching and tutoring services directly. The great thing about this approach is you get to charge more money. Remember, when you're using any kind of agency, you are splitting the fee with the agency. Unfortunately, in an agency environment, they set the fee. If the fee is very low so as to make their services more affordable, guess who takes the hit? That's right, you do. So when you market directly to your potential students, you earn more money and you keep more money. Another advantage is you don't have to worry about personality and temperament issues because ultimately you either convince the student to hire you or you don't. You don't have to go through some sort of bureaucracy or attitude test. The downside to going your own way is that you have to know how to market online. You may have to spend a lot of money on Facebook ads and Google search ads to get customers. If you don't know what you're doing with online marketing, you might end up paying too much money only to have very little to show for it. Become an online seller. Online commerce is here and is here to stay. It's getting larger and larger. Wouldn't you want to get a nice piece of that pie? The problem with online selling. The problem with most online sellers is that they think they have to do all sorts of things to sell online. This means they have to hang on to inventory, prepay for it, store it in a warehouse, physically handle the stock, deal with returns, refunds, and all sorts of customer support headaches. On top of all this, they face a tremendous amount of competition regardless of their niche. It is no surprise that initial adopters of online stores or early online store builders tended to fail. Fast forward to today. Now, more online sellers are making money reliably, predictably, and profitably. What changed? 2 words: dropshipping. Dropshipping explained. Dropshipping is a fulfillment method. Basically, you put up a website to attract traffic and buyers from the internet. They can find you through search engines or social media. When they find your store, they can see your products. If they like a product, they can click a button to order it. When that happens, it triggers software that orders from your supplier. Normally, this is a Chinese supplier from places like AliExpress. The customer doesn't see any of this. Instead, they make a payment at your website and start to wait for the product they ordered. Your website, on the other hand, automatically places their order to your supplier in China. The Chinese supplier then ships the order directly to your customer. It doesn't even pass through your hands. How nifty is that? You don't have to worry about warehousing, inventory handling, or most other fulfillment headaches. If there are any problems, exchanges and refunds are very easy. How come? Normally, the difference between the price drop shippers charge to customers in the United States and Canada is so big that they can absorb quite a bit of losses. How to get started as an online seller. There are 2 ways you can set up an online store. You can use a dedicated store using WordPress and WooCommerce. You can use a plugin to import products from your supplier at AliExpress. Personally, I would use a simpler option. I would use Shopify. Shopify is awesome because all the hosting is taken care of. You don't have to host your own online store. You can bet that its hosting infrastructure is safe and powerful. You don't have to worry about your website going offline. Also, Shopify supports all sorts of plugins, the most important being Oberlo. Oberlo works closely with AliExpress. So, when you do a search on Oberlo, you can find all sorts of products on AliExpress. Just select them with your browser and Oberlo will automatically populate your Shopify store with these products. Also, Oberlo will automate the ordering system. This is what sealed the deal for me. When somebody goes to my store and buys a product, the payment is processed through Shopify and my PayPal account is credited. At the same time, Oberlo will take the order details of that transaction and send it automatically to my source at AliExpress. My PayPal is then automatically charged, and I keep the difference. Virtual juror. In high-stakes litigation, lawyers really are not in a position to leave anything to chance. They'd rather present their cases to people that match the profile of the jury pool in their jurisdiction. You have to fill out an online survey to see your personal profile. And if you get picked for that online jury pool, you get paid as an online juror. You basically just listen to the arguments of the lawyers, you look at the evidence presented, and then you render your opinion. In many cases, you are asked to explain why you decided the way you decided. This is then recorded by the online juror company and presented as a report to the litigators involved. The law firms will then look at the profile of different types of jurors so they can use them as a way to guide them in picking out the proper jury composition in their lawsuit. In other words, by going through an online juror system, they can get a good idea as to which jurors to select so as to maximize their chances of success. On the other hand, if the online jurors uniformly or almost universally decide for the plaintiff or the defendant, the law firm might decide to just settle the case. No matter how you cut it, your job as an online or virtual juror is actually very important. It can save companies a lot of money. It can also save plaintiffs a lot of hassle. Other work-from-home opportunities. If you want to work at home, there are many different options available to you that can involve a hybrid of online visibility and offline work. What follows is just a general sampling of this type of hybrid opportunity. Keep in mind that these opportunities require real work. You have to physically be somewhere. You're basically back to active income in the sense that you are trading in your time for money. The only online dimension to this is that people will find out about your service through the internet. Catering, baking, and cooking. If you have a Facebook account, you can use Facebook to offer catering services. Facebook is geared towards local businesses, so when people look for local catering and baking or cooking services, they can find your business. You can sell prepackaged meals that you prepared in advance, or you can rent yourself out as an on-site chef or cook. If you're going to go into this kind of business, make sure you look for competitive pricing. Childcare. You can offer childcare services out of your home. However, make sure you comply with local licensing rules. There are also potential insurance bond issues that you need to comply with. Care for pets. You can also set up your home as some sort of doggy hotel. There is a tremendous amount of demand for this type of service. You can also walk people's dogs for them or otherwise take care of their pets as a pet sitter. You can advertise these services on places like Craigslist. Depending on your jurisdiction, you might have to get a permit and insurance. You also might have to get certain modifications to your premises built. Handicrafts, painting, and music. If you are in any way creative, you can just create music or graphic arts packages and sell these online. There are lots of people looking for royalty-free music. You can either join a website that acts as a clearinghouse for this type of material, or you can sell it through your own site. Mechanic services. If you love cars, you can advertise on Craigslist to be a drop-in mechanic. Now, please understand that people would pay good money for this because you are actually visiting them and doing repair work on their car. The same possible legal issues of pet sitting apply here as well. Gardening services. You can offer informal gardening services through the internet. There are a lot of people who need certain plants trimmed or their lawns mowed. This can be lucrative, but your service page has to be very visible online. Where to get online jobs. Assuming that you want to become a virtual assistant, or you want to work as an online tutor or perform any kind of work that can be done online for clients, you really only have 3 major sources of these types of jobs. Please understand that these are categorical sources, meaning there are many different variations to these, but ultimately this is how they operate. Your 3 choices are going your own way, micro-sourcing platforms, or job matching platforms. Method number 1, going your own way. When you go your own way, you're basically selling your services through your website. Maybe your website is just a page on Blogger.com or Medium.com. It's still an online service page. Obviously, you should adopt the most professional-looking online presence. Invest in a domain name, get it hosted somewhere, and make sure that your website looks professional. The higher the chance people will hire you. Pretty straightforward. How to get people to visit your site. When you do go your own way, you're basically taking out online ads or promoting your website or doing some sort of outreach to get people to do business with you. The bottom line is to get people to see your website so they can see what it is you offer. You can charge much higher rates than if you were to advertise your service on a platform. There's no comparison. The only person you're being compared to is yourself. Watch the video on online marketing to get a basic understanding of traffic building techniques you can use. Another downside to going your own way is that you have to learn how to sell online. Please understand that there's a big difference between learning how to drive traffic and learning how to sell. A lot of people confuse these two things, and that's why they spend a lot of money on paid ads with very little to show for it. You also have to set up a web presence that can convert traffic into sales. This is not as easy as you think because it takes quite a bit of time and attention to detail. It can be done. Method number 2, micro-sourcing platforms. Micro-sourcing platforms are places like Fiverr where service providers set up an account under which they can then create many different ads. Each ad relates to a specific task they perform for other people. For example, if you're a graphic designer who can produce banners, headers, Photoshop edited photos, and other graphics tasks, when you join a micro-sourcing platform, you agree to price your service according to their price restrictions. On Fiverr, service providers used to be restricted to only $5. Not anymore. But you can only offer one specific task per ad. These are very task-specific. Potential buyers would then go through Fiverr and they would do searches for tasks related to the ones you're offering. The big advantage of micro-sourcing platforms like Mechanical Turk, Fiverr, or Micro Workers is that they're job-specific. There's no guesswork as to the kind of task you are expected to perform. The downside to micro-sourcing platforms is that the competition is so intense that it's normally a race to the bottom. These task platforms or microsourcing websites are very price sensitive, so make sure that you only offer services that you can earn good money from. This means you should offer specialized services. Method number 3, job matching platform. A job matching platform flips the script of microsourcing. With microsourcing sites, clients basically have to select among ads posted by the service providers. With job matching platforms, it's the other way around. The clients will post the details for their project, and then the service providers would bid for that project. The big advantage of these platforms is that the client has a lot more control. The client can specify certain types of skills, they can dictate certain outcomes, and they can select among the pool of potential contractor bidders. The big disadvantage of job matching platforms is that service providers are forced to compete. A lot of people posting specialized jobs on job matching platforms expect to pay $1 for a Ferrari. The good news is that if you specialize and have a solid track record, you can still do well on this type of freelancing platform. Senior Citizen's Guide to Basic Digital Marketing. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the many different ways you can promote your passive income business. Whether you have a download site, some sort of service platform, an app you had programmed for you, a piece of software, a book or blog that makes you money, you need to know the basics of online marketing so you can drive traffic. It's really as simple as this question. No traffic means no money. Wrap your mind around that. If you want to generate passive income from the internet, you have to figure out how to drive that traffic. Of course, the cheaper the traffic, the better. The good news is that the vast majority of the methods I'm going to describe below are free. Don't get too excited. Nothing is really free. They may not cost you actual dollars, but they will cost you your time. So if you have a lot of time, you can take these steps and produce quite a bit of traffic. It goes without saying that if you are selling your services through your own website or through a Web 2.0 site like Blogger.com or Medium.com or WordPress.com, you can also use the same digital marketing methods described here. Preliminary step number 1, start a blog to promote your service. Create a blog on your own domain name if you can. If not, use Web 2.0 platforms like WordPress.com, Blogger.com, or Medium.com. When you create a professional-looking blog, this means you have to put graphics. Maybe you need to install a theme. Make it look good. Once you've done that, address basic questions regarding your service. Why would people want to use your service? What kind of problem do they have? For example, if you are a graphics designer, why would people need the help of a graphic designer? Well, normally, they would need banners. They would need graphical headers for their blogs. They may need specialized graphics for a blog post. Talk about those needs and why it's a good idea to use those types of items. Talk about the benefits of such graphical products for people's business. Go to places like Quora.com to compile a massive list of questions people normally ask regarding your type of business. Answer those questions on your blog. Alternatively, you could offer buyer's guides. This is intended for people who already want to hire people like you. This content is intended to convince them to hire you instead of somebody else. In your guide, you will say that people should look for certain qualities or certain features, and then you upsell your service. The bottom line is you create online resources that address the end user's needs. When they read these materials, they will figure out key questions regarding their needs, and your brand becomes more credible to them. They are more likely to buy from you because you gave them critical information that could help them make a more informed decision. Preliminary step number 2. Create a sales funnel. Once you have started a blog to promote your service, you need to create a sales funnel. This is crucial. A lot of people think that once they put any kind of content on the internet, that somehow, some way, that content will magically transform traffic into cold hard cash. I wish it were that easy. While I have no doubt that this sometimes happens, but for the most part, it doesn't. You have to understand that most people are busy. Most people have better things to do. So as much as possible, they would rather be pushed into or persuaded into some sort of sales conversion process. If your content doesn't do that, then you can kiss that potential sale goodbye. Instead, those eyeballs will eventually convert for somebody else who knows what they are doing. The key here is to understand that you're not blogging just for the sake of blogging. Your blog content must lead to sales. If you don't get this, then don't blog. It's that simple. Set up a simple sales funnel. A sales funnel is really just a flowchart of different types of content you put online. This material ends up filtering or qualifying your traffic so that eventually they buy from you. That's as simple as it gets. That's as simple as it needs to be. The most basic way to do this is to create info pages. These are pieces of content that answers people's questions and defines certain issues for them. These can be used as resources by people ultimately interested in the service that you are offering. However, once you have created these pages, they should link to selection pages. On these pages, you tell people how they should select the right service provider. This is how you gently nudge them to pick you. But if you don't call them to action and just tell them, okay, here's the answer to your question, you're basically trusting that they will pick you. How can they pick you when you didn't even tell them, hey, I'm available. Here's what I have to offer. Here's why my service is so superior compared to others. You have to create selection pages. These can be reviews. These can be finely tuned selection guides. These can even be online forms that people plug details into, which ultimately selects a particular service that you offer. Whatever the case may be, you have to gently twist people's arms so they buy from you and not from somebody else. Remember, the name of the game is not just to find your stuff, but to get them to something that will put dollars in your pocket. It's all about conversion. Now, if you have a passive income site, this also applies. This is most applicable when it comes to service providers, but if you have an information site that makes money when people click on ads, selection pages call people to action. So, when these ads show up, people know what to expect and they are more likely to click. The bottom line is getting people to convert, convert, convert. Preliminary step number 3, get ready to promote your content on social media. What follows are actual traffic generation methods. It's really important to understand that if you don't generate traffic, you're not going to make money. It's that simple. No traffic means no money. To put it in a more positive way, traffic means money. Regardless of how you look at it, you need to get traffic. It could be paid or it could be free. No matter what you choose, you have to get traffic, because without traffic, your pages are not going to turn into cash. That's the bottom line. Method number 1. Promote your content on social media. There are tons of social media platforms out there, and I am of course talking about Pinterest, Facebook, which can be broken down into Facebook pages and Facebook groups, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Go to all these social media platforms and look for areas that are directly related to the service that you are offering or the content you're offering. For example, if you have a blog on how to make money on the stock market, you can bet that there are tons of Facebook pages and groups that talk about stock investing. Get a massive list of this going. You may even hire a virtual assistant to do this. Once you've done that, create your social media accounts. Ideally, you should have a social media account on all the major platforms. Again, these are Twitter, Facebook, which is broken down into pages and groups, YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram. The more platforms, the better. Create your social media accounts. These have to look professional. Maybe you have to invest in a cover graphic. If you don't know how to make one, you can easily buy them cheap at places like Fiverr. Once you've created your social media accounts, populate them, include your bio, and include a little background on your service or your content. Next, share your content on your accounts. If this is passive income content, this is pretty straightforward. Just drop the link. The same applies to your service website's blog. The key is to share your content on all your accounts. Once you've done a fair bit of sharing, the next step is to find all the subsections of these social media platforms where people already talk about your type of service, the need for your service, where people are normally interested in your type of service. Alternatively, these can be places where people talk about the topics that you cover on your blog, your resource websites, or online store. The key is to find these places and then become active on them. Here's the secret. Don't just share your own stuff. If you did that, you'll get banned for spamming, so don't even try. Instead, find high-quality third-party content and share these on your accounts first, and then from there, link to these subsections. If you do this right, you won't get banned because you are sharing high-quality information that you did not write. This is called content curation. As long as you are sharing the link and not whooping off the content and then sharing that, you should be fine. To turbocharge the results, you might want to use automation software to publish on your social media accounts. Software like Jarvee, Hootsuite. The name of the game is to run all this curated content through your accounts to draw a lot of attention from people in different social media platforms. Eventually, you mix in the content you share on your blog, and then if people click the link to that, they end up on your blog, and you can then convert that traffic. Method number 2, promote on Quora. Quora is a question and answer platform where people basically ask all sorts of questions about all sorts of topics under the sun. The website is organized in terms of questions. People would post a question and then other people would answer. Quora is a great way to get very targeted traffic. For example, you have a blog that makes money by offering content to people applying to MBA programs. You can find all sorts of MBA-related questions on Quora, answer them, and link directly to specific blog posts. As long as there's a tight fit between the question, your answer, and the resource link you supplied, you should be fine. However, if there's a big disconnect and it's obvious that you are just trying to get free traffic from Quora, not only will your answers get deleted so you don't get any traffic, but your account can also get banned. Method number 3, promote via guest posts on blogs. If you are a blogger, you know that blogging takes a lot of time and effort. This is why a lot of bloggers would actually save money by inviting other bloggers to contribute content. The contributing bloggers benefit by being able to get fresh eyeballs from the blogs that post their content on, as well as search engine optimization value for the links they include in their contributed content. This can produce a win-win situation. The blogger publishing guest posts wins by saving money on original content that's not published elsewhere. The contributor gets benefits by getting eyeballs and producing direct traffic that way, as well as a backlink for SEO purposes. The downside to guest posting on blogs is that you may be in a niche that is so specific that there are only a few blogs that cover it. When you try to pitch these blogs on your guest post, they may not be all that receptive. Method number 4, promote on Reddit. Reddit prides itself as the world's front page. It can make that claim because it gets a huge amount of traffic. When you post a link on the appropriate subreddit on Reddit, there's a good chance that it can generate quite a bit of traffic from that platform. Of course, the more specialized the subsection is, the less traffic you should expect. This is not necessarily bad. For example, if you have a blog that helps people get into medical school, you can promote the links to your blog post on subreddits that help with medical admissions. While it's obvious these sections on Reddit don't get much traffic, promoting on these subsections is still worth it because the eyeballs that you do get tend to be very interested. In other words, this is qualified traffic. This is not some random person just looking for funny pictures or inspiring images. These are people who are actually looking for specific problems related to medical admissions. If you position your post right and set up the right context for it, you might get a lot of customers. These are people who are looking to click on your ads or order services from you. The downside to Reddit is that people on Reddit are very, very sensitive to spam. Even if you're not actively promoting a link or even if your post does not have the link on it, they'll still find a way to report you for spam. That's how sensitive they are. This is why it's really important to play the game smart. You can mention the name of the website without the .com at the end. You can mention the email address of a person and then say that they are using Gmail and what their name is. People will be able to put together and use that name and form an email address and send email. You just have to be creative on Reddit. Method number 5, promote on forums. You can drive free traffic from forums that are directly related to your target niche. If you provide this service to website owners in the air conditioning industry, for example, you can find air conditioning forums populated by people who own air conditioning businesses. You can then post questions, and then other people would answer, and then you can mention the fact that there's this article out there. People can click the link, and they can go to the website and then upsell them there. The big advantage of forums is that they tend to be very specific. Also, the content you post on them tends to stay on the internet for a long time. In other words, the content functions as some sort of long-lasting resource. People would be able to find it for a long period of time. The downside is that just like Reddit, many forum users are very sensitive to spam. So as much as possible, you should develop quite a bit of credibility first. You can't just go in and just drop a link on day one. It doesn't work that way. Sooner or later, start dropping third-party high-quality content links. These are links to materials you know are the ultimate best with no disputes about the quality of their content. Of course, this is not your content, but it wouldn't matter because when you're sharing this content, people start looking at you as the authority. They know that when they pay attention to you and take you seriously, that you will not steer them wrong. You always give them the very best information. That's the kind of reputation you should build for yourself. Once you're able to do that, then you can start sprinkling in your own blog posts. And when people click those, they will end up with your website and you can then convert them. Method number 6, promote on Facebook comments, plugin-powered blog posts. Facebook has a plugin that many websites use. You can search for blogs that use this plugin, but use your content's target keywords. For example, you have a blog post on how to buy stocks. This, of course, is for your passive income website. People read that content, then they click on an ad, and you may make money. Pretty straightforward. You can promote this using this technique by looking for keywords related to your blog post and then searching for blog posts that are powered by the Facebook comment plugin. This means that this blog posts written by other people are on blogs that have Facebook's comment plugin. You then enter your response to that blog post and then drop a link to your post. The big advantage of this method is that you get highly targeted traffic. Please understand that no matter how obscure your target content is, there's a high chance somebody has already written about it on some sort of blog. Find that content, and if that content has a comment section that's powered by Facebook, comment on it and then drop your link. The disadvantage here is that if you're obviously spamming, you will get penalized. People don't like promotions on their page. You're basically promoting at their expense. This is why you have to share valuable content. Method number 7, promote on Pinterest. Every blog post on your website can have an image attached to it. Find that image. Get it custom made on places like Fiverr. Once you have the royalty for the image, go to Pinterest and pin it using hashtags or categories directly related to your niche. The upside to this is it's pretty straightforward. It's very easy to do, and you can link from that photo to your blog post. The downside to this is you need to do this a lot and you have to produce the right content. Also, Pinterest is great for products and not so great for services or concepts. Method number 8, promote on blog comments. Basically, you search for these blog posts. The same way how you would be looking for blog posts that use the Facebook comment plugin mentioned in one of the methods above. The only difference is that these blog posts don't necessarily have to use the Facebook comment plugin. You still do the same things though. You have to talk about what the blog post is about. Raise certain questions and then raise the issue that has something to do with the link that you are promoting. This is not something you can copy and paste. You have to do this on your own. You have to be a decent writer to pull this off. But the good news is, if you are able to do this right, you will attract the right eyeballs. Method number 9, Facebook page commenting. Find your competitors on Facebook. Whether you're a service provider or you are a blogger or a content website owner, find your competing pages on Facebook. Look for their pinned post. These are posts that appear on the front page. Comment on the number 1 comment on that page. Ideally, you should find content that has no comments first. Comment on that, and then use the same techniques for blog commenting that I've mentioned earlier, and then drop your link. Method number 10, Facebook group marketing. Join as many different Facebook groups related to your niche and use the same commenting strategies I've mentioned above. Paid options. In addition to the free methods above, you can always pay for traffic. Depending on how much money you have available to invest in building an online income stream, this may be a workable option, or it may be off limits to you. It's a good idea to cut your teeth on free traffic generation first, before paying for traffic. Conclusion. Working after retirement can provide great opportunities to work on your own terms. Companies appreciate the value older workers bring to the table. There are many ways you can work online. You can work on your own terms. You can work on your own schedule, because the internet has just made remote work so much more flexible and lucrative. You can also look into building passive income systems. If you are sick and tired of having to actively work for your money, creating online passive income through online publishing and other methods is definitely a great option. With that said, use the information above to zero in on remote income options that make the most sense in your situation. You can take a long, hard look at your personal circumstances and look for the right fit. Just because other people are doing it and generating good results, it doesn't necessarily mean that it would be right for you. You have to look at the totality of the situation. Make sure that everything fits just right so you can take advantage of the right opportunities and produce the right outcome. The best part? You got to learn something new. Just because you're a little older doesn't necessarily mean you have to be old. People become old when they shut their minds to new possibilities. People become old when they refuse to learn. People become old when they become stubborn and insist on hanging on to what they think they know. When you put yourself out there as an online worker, you basically get paid to learn. You basically get paid to push out of your mental and emotional comfort zone, and things become possible. You start looking at the world with a tremendous amount of possibility and a sense of adventure.